Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
Underneath the flowing rivers and ancient woodlands of the southeastern United States lies a story, whispered by the winds and carried in the veins of descendants, a tale so intertwined with history that it often vanishes in the fold of time. The Creek Nation, a proud and storied people whose influence once spanned vast stretches of what is now Georgia, Alabama, Florida, and beyond, holds within its historical tapestry a thread that is as compelling as it is overlooked. This is the story of the hidden black bloodlines within the Creek Nation, a narrative of resilience, shared struggle, and the complex intersections of race, culture, and identity. It is a tale shrouded in mystery, yet illuminated by the lives of those who embody both African and Creek ancestry. To fully appreciate this forgotten chapter, we must peel back the layers of colonial conquest, slavery, alliance, and cultural fusion that shaped its existence. In the early days of the American South, the Creek Nation, also known as the Muskogee, was one of the dominant Native American societies. Their political systems were sophisticated, their trade networks vast, and their culture rich with traditions that spanned centuries. But alongside their sovereignty and strength existed a turbulent relationship with African peoples, one that began with the arrival of European colonizers. Over time, these relationships gave rise to a unique lineage, Black Creeks, who would face challenges from all sides as they sought to navigate the volatile worlds of Native, African, and European societies. Despite the obstacles, these bloodlines persevered, their stories surviving through oral traditions, historical accounts, and the indelible marks they left on the Creek Nation itself. This exploration of the hidden black bloodlines within the Creek Nation reveals a story that is as beautiful as it is tragic. It is a journey through centuries of alliance and betrayal, cultural fusion and erasure, belonging and exclusion. But above all, it is a testament to the enduring human spirit, to the ability of people to forge bonds across lines of difference, even in the face of oppression. To understand the complexity of this history, we must begin by examining the origins of the Creek Nation and the early interactions between Africans and indigenous peoples in the Southeast. The Creek Nation was born of a confederation of smaller tribes and societies that banded together for mutual protection and prosperity. Their ancestors had lived in the southeastern United States for thousands of years, cultivating the land, developing trade networks, and creating complex political and social systems. By the time European explorers arrived in the 16th century, the Creek Nation was already a formidable force, known for their resourcefulness and adaptability. The Muskogee people, as they called themselves, organized their society around towns known as talwas, each with its own leadership and council. These towns were divided into white towns, which focused on peace and diplomacy, and red towns, which prepared for war. This dual system of governance reflected a balance of power and responsibility, a concept deeply ingrained in Creek culture. Their religious practices, too, emphasized harmony and balance, with ceremonies like the Green Corn Festival serving as central expressions of gratitude and renewal. But with the arrival of Europeans, this balance was disrupted. Spanish conquistadors, followed by French and British colonists, sought to exploit the wealth of the Southeast, bringing with them not only weapons and goods but also enslaved Africans. It was within this context that the first interactions between Africans and the Creek Nation began. From the earliest days of European colonization, enslaved Africans were brought to the Americas to labor in mines, fields, and settlements. Many of these individuals escaped bondage, seeking refuge among Native American nations that often shared a common enemy in the European colonizers. Among the Creeks, runaway slaves found a mixture of welcome and wariness. For the Creeks, these Africans represented both potential allies and potential threats, and their treatment varied depending on the time, place, and circumstances. In some cases, runaway Africans were adopted into Creek society, becoming part of the Talwa and contributing to its labor and defense. The Creeks recognized the skills and knowledge that Africans brought with them, from agricultural techniques to ironworking, and integrated these into their own practices. In other instances, however, the Creeks participated in the institution of slavery themselves, acquiring enslaved Africans through trade with Europeans or capturing them in raids. This dual role, as both refuge and participant in slavery, highlighted the complex dynamics at play within the Creek Nation. It also set the stage for the emergence of Black Creeks, individuals of mixed African and Creek ancestry who would come to play a significant role in the nation's history. As interactions between Africans and the Creek nation deepened, so too did the connections between their peoples. Intermarriage between Africans and Creeks became increasingly common, especially among those who had been fully integrated into Creek society. The offspring of these unions, Black Creeks, occupied a unique and often precarious position within the Creek nation. They were both insiders and outsiders, their identities shaped by the blending of two rich cultural heritages. For many Black Creeks, life was shaped by the Creek practice of matrilineal kinship. In Creek society, a child's lineage and clan affiliation were determined by their mother. This meant that children born to Creek women and African men were considered fully Creek, with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. However, those born to African women and Creek men often faced greater challenges, as their maternal lineage placed them outside the traditional clan structure. Despite these challenges, Black Creeks made significant contributions to the Creek nation. They worked as farmers, blacksmiths, interpreters, and warriors, helping to strengthen the nation in the face of external threats. During times of conflict, Black Creeks fought alongside their fellow Creeks, defending their lands and communities from encroaching settlers and rival nations. Yet their loyalty was not always reciprocated, and they often found themselves caught in the crossfire of shifting alliances and betrayals. The arrival of European settlers brought profound changes to the Creek nation, changes that would have a lasting impact on Black Creeks. As the United States expanded its territory, the Creeks faced increasing pressure to cede their lands and assimilate into European American culture. This pressure culminated in a series of treaties that stripped the Creek nation of much of its territory, forcing many Creeks, including Black Creeks, to adapt to a rapidly changing world. One of the most devastating events in Creek history was the Indian Removal Act of 1830, which led to the forced relocation of thousands of Creeks to Indian Territory in present-day Oklahoma. Known as the Trail of Tears, this journey was marked by immense suffering and loss, as Creeks were forced to leave their ancestral lands and rebuild their lives in an unfamiliar and often hostile environment. For Black Creeks, the journey was particularly arduous, as they faced not only the hardships of relocation but also the persistent threat of enslavement and discrimination. In Indian Territory, the Creek nation sought to rebuild itself, reestablishing its political and social systems. Black Creeks continue to play an important role in this process, contributing their labor and skills to the rebuilding efforts. However, the growing influence of European American culture and the institution of slavery in the territory created new challenges for Black Creeks, who often found themselves marginalized within their own nation. Despite the many challenges they faced, Black Creeks have left an indelible mark on the history and culture of the Creek nation. Their resilience and adaptability in the face of adversity serve as a testament to the strength of their spirit and the depth of their contributions. From the fields of Alabama to the plains of Oklahoma, Black Creeks have carried forward the legacy of their ancestors, preserving their stories and traditions for future generations. Today, the hidden Black bloodlines of the Creek nation are increasingly being recognized and celebrated. Through the efforts of historians, genealogists, and descendants, the stories of Black Creeks are being brought to light, revealing a rich and complex history that has long been overlooked. These stories remind us of the interconnectedness of our shared past and the importance of honoring the contributions of all peoples to the fabric of our history. As we reflect on the hidden Black bloodlines within the Creek nation, we are reminded of the enduring power of identity and the ways in which it is shaped by history, culture, and community. This story is not just a chapter in the history of the Creek nation. It is a chapter in the history of America, a reminder of the diverse and dynamic forces that have shaped our nation and continue to shape it today. It is a story of resilience, of perseverance, and of the enduring human spirit, a story that deserves to be told, remembered, and celebrated.